Okay, so today is going to be short and sweet. And I mean really short and sweet. There's not a lot to this. Um, what we're going to talk about are parallel lines. So we're going to have two lines that never intersect. And then we're going to talk about a transversal, which is a line that goes through the two parallel lines. And then you notice that there are all of these different angles that are created, 8 to be exact. Well, they have special relationships. So we're going to learn all about those. And this is going to be super important. You're going to be using it the rest of the school year. So make sure you're paying attention and taking good notes. So what happens is when two parallel lines are cut by transversal, there are some resulting pairs of angles that are congruent. Some will be congruent and some will be supplementary. So we're going to learn about those. So to use the property of parallel lines, theorems prove lines that are parallel and solve real world problems. So here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Use the given figure to answer each of the following. So identify the transversal. Well, since these little arrows right here that you see, that tells you that these two lines are parallel. So A is parallel to B, and this is the symbol for parallel. So that is the symbol for parallel. So if these two are parallel, then that makes M a transversal. And notice you've got this one angle that's 120 degrees. Well, we're going to find the other 7. Okay. So which of the 3 of the numbered angles are going to be 120 degrees? Okay. So what do we know? Well, we know that angle 4 is 120 degrees because it's vertical. So we know angle 4 is 120 degrees because it is vertical. So let me do it this way. Let me type it in because I'll be able to read it. We don't need it to be that large. Vertical angles are congruent. All right. Okay, what about another angle? What would be another angle that could be? So what do we know? What do you think? Well, I'm going to tell you that angle 5 is also 120 degrees because since this is your transversal, then this in this angle, they're alternating the sides of the transversal. And see how if I were to connect my parallel lines, see how they're inside the parallel lines? So they would be considered alternating and interior. So I'm going to go with number 5 because alternate interior angles are congruent. So we're going to go with alternate because they're alternating on each side of the transversal, and they're interior because they're inside the parallel lines. Apparently I can't type today. All right, and then the last one we're going to look at for right now is going to be, okay, well, we know this one's 120, we know this one's 120 because they're vertical. This one's 120 because these two are alternate interior. So we don't want to use vertical angles again, but I will tell you that angle 8 is also 120 degrees because it's corresponding with angle 4. So these two are considered corresponding. So we're going to go with angle 8, and we're going to say corresponding angles are congruent. And we're going to get more detailed with this. Corresponding angles are congruent. All right, so those are 3. So you already know about vertical angles. The 2 new ones right now are alternate interior and corresponding. So now let's talk about this in a little more depth. All right, so we've got this All right, sorry about that. Somebody walked in. Okay, so we're going to expand on this a little bit. It looks like part of my notes got deleted. So, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about angle 1. So angle 1 is going to be also 110 degrees. And angle 2 is also going to be 110 degrees. So let's talk about why. So this one's also 110 degrees. So let's not forget our degree symbol. All right, so I go over here and I'm going to give a good reason why angle 1 is 110 degrees. So angle 1 is 110 degrees because it is corresponding. So remember I talked about how these two, see how they're in the same location? So if you think about it, let's go ahead and write the reason down. Corresponding angle. All right, so if you'll notice, if I go here, see how this is in the upper left corner? So this is in my upper left, and see how this one's in the upper left corner? See how they're in the same location? That's corresponding. So this one would be corresponding with this one because they're both in the upper right, and so on and so on, okay? So the next one here is angle 2, and we're going to say that it's vertical. It is a vertical with, and it's vertical with angle 1. So it is vertical with angle 1. All right, so now we go down here and we're going to look at these two. So remember a minute ago we talked about that the two lines that were parallel. So we know this one is parallel with this one. So this is your transversal. So notice how this 65-degree angle and angle 1 are alternating. They're on opposite sides. So these are considered alternate interior. So angle 1 is also 65 degrees because it is alternate interior. So it is an alternate interior angle with 65. So alternate interior. So angle 2, well, if you'll notice, angle 2, it has a relationship with this angle 65, but it is also, see how it's a linear pair with angle 1? So that means it's going to be 115 degrees, because remember a linear pair is 180 minus 65, which would be 115. So it is a linear pair with 65. Or it's a linear pair with angle 2, but it's also considered same side interior with the 65 degree. So see how it's on the same side of the transversal? So since it's on the same side of the transversal, and again, see how it's inside the parallel lines? So it's also supplementary because it's same side interior angles. So we're going to go with same side interior, also known as consecutive interior. Also known as consecutive interior. So these are supplementary. Okay, then we got this one here. So angle 1, notice how it's vertical. So it's 123 degrees because it is vertical with 123 degrees. And then notice angle 2. Notice angle 2 is on the same side of the transversal. So it's on the same side and it's inside the parallel lines. So it's supplementary. So that's 180 minus 123, which is 57. So angle 2 is 57 degrees because it's same side interior with angle 1. And don't forget, same side is also known as consecutive interior. All right, and we will go in more depth to this. I'll have a photo for us. All right, find the value of x and then explain your steps. All right, so we're going to, first of all, I know that I'm going to look over here and see what information I have. So this is 115. So I also know that this is 115 because these two are vertical. Well, these two are on the same side. See how they're all inside here? So these two are same side interior. So I'm going to say that if I add these two together, so if I add this angle plus this one, it's going to equal 180. So 115 degrees plus x plus 5 equals 180 degrees. So angle 4 is 115 because they're vertical angles. And then these two are supplementary. So let's add these together. So I've got x plus 120 equals 180. And I'm going to subtract 120 from both sides. So x is 60. So if x is 60 degrees, then I am able to determine that 60 plus 5, so that would make this one 65 degrees, or better yet, this one would be 65 degrees as well. All right, the next one, find the value of x. So I know that these two, so I know angle 1 plus 136 is 180 because these two are a linear pair. So these two are a linear pair. All right, the next thing I know is I know that this one here, and then I look at the transversal and I notice that this one here, see how they're on opposite sides, they're alternating? But notice this time if I close the box, they're outside. So angle 1, so I'm going to go over here, I'm going to put angle 1 is considered alternate, because it's alternating sides, exterior, but it's outside the box. So it's alternate exterior. Angle 1 is alternate exterior with 7x plus 9. So they're congruent. So that means that angle 1 plus 1, so if angle 1 plus 136 is equal to 180, then if angle 1 is the same thing as this, then I can say 7x plus 9 plus 136 equals 180. I can do it that way, or I can figure out what angle 1 is. So if I subtracted 136 from both sides, I would get that angle 1 is 44 degrees. Well, since angle 1 is 44 degrees, then I could say, since angle 1 is equal to 7x plus 9, then I can say 44 equals 7x plus 9. So instead of doing it this long way, I can do it that way. But this is a way. This is still a way that works. So we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. And we get 35 is equal to 7x. And of course, we're going to divide by 7 here. So x is 5. So since x is 5, then we could plug it in if we needed to. All right, last one. Prove that if two parallel lines are cut by transversal, then the pairs of alternate interior angles are congruent. So P is parallel to Q is given. 1 is congruent to 3 because they're corresponding. So corresponding angles. 3 is congruent to 2 because they're vertical angles. So if 1 equals 3 and 3 equals 2, those cancel out, leaving me with 1 is equal to 2, and this is the transitive property. And therefore, I solved it. All right, and then we have a rainbow and some raindrops. So it says when sunlight enters a drop of rain, different colors leave, and that's how we get our rainbow. So for violet light, the measure of angle 2, so when the sunlight hits the raindrop and makes a 40-degree angle, then we get the color purple, okay? So I know that since these two rays of sunshine are parallel to each other, then this is my transversal. So therefore this would be 40 degrees also because they're alternate interior angles. So angle 1 is also 40 degrees by alternate interior angles. So remember, if you were to close the box, they're inside the box, but they're on alternating sides of the transversal. Therefore, that makes them alternate interior. Like I said, we're going to go into more detail when you get to class, so we will see you then.